gonna wait for people to come in. Hello, welcome. I'm just gonna wait a few minutes, see if anyone else pops in. And I have something funny to show you. I'm excited. I found it earlier today. Hey Luke, how are you? Hi, you're here from Twitter. Let Eva speak, let Eva speak. She's asleep. I'll try to get her in just a second so she can say hi. I have to show you this funny thing. If you're on my Twitter, then you probably already saw it. Hi Sarah, thanks for keeping us up. Hi, thank you for joining on Friday. Siri, stop. Okay. Doing great, same here. Yeah, it was actually a good week, minus the weird speech that we had. So we'll get into that in just a second. I have to show you, I don't know if anyone saw, I'm lifting up my computer, I'm on the farm, we're low tech on the farm, but I have to show you, you probably saw it because you're on my Twitter, this clip of Biden. So Joe Biden was, I think she was at a middle school today giving a speech, and Joe Biden was there, and he just awkwardly walked away and somebody sort of doctored this clip. It's quite funny. Here, I'm just gonna hold up my computer screen and play it for you.
Us here today, and Secretary Cardona and Mayor Bowser and Chancellor Fairby, thank you for joining us as well. And for families across the country, the school year.
That was so funny. Okay, so we'll get into, I think some more people will probably trickle in, but we'll go ahead and get started. So before I started on anything, isn't that great? I love memes, make the world go round. They make me so happy. And I don't know who these heroes are that put these clips together, but I enjoy them very, very much. That was at a middle school. My social skills admire Biden's social skills. Mine do as well. I actually wish I cared about as much as Biden cares. I almost think life would be a lot easier, right? If none of us cared the way that he cared. The world might not be as great of a place, but I think it might be easier. Before I get started, so I talked to a lot of people, so we'll get into, hey Special K, so we're gonna get into Biden's speech, a lot of things that are going on this week. I wanted to talk about, Rose McGowan just said something really interesting about Gavin Newsom. I wanted to talk about TimeUp, Larry Elder, and hopefully we'll go into Portland. There's some interesting things going on in Portland, predictable things, but interesting as well. But before we get started with any of that, every single time I talk to a friend of mine, and sometimes you guys that is up to date on, politics and what's happening right now in our country and all of that, I get the same thing over and over and over again. And it's this, I feel helpless. I feel like our country is being destroyed, and I feel like there's nothing that I can do. And it really is. It's a sense of helplessness. It's a sense of helplessness with a lot of people right now. But I want to say something, and I know this might not be popular among everyone, but I actually have a lot of hope. I think that we're winning. And I know with especially the speech that was given last night, which we'll get into that in just a second, a lot of people they just feel hopeless. But I do have hope, and I think we are winning. And one of the reasons, first of all, it feels so helpless is we're able to see behind the curtain in a way that we've never ever been able to see before. People buying a presidency is nothing new. The first time I heard about this was, I don't know if you've ever watched, it was this great series on the History Channel, and it's called The Men That Built America. And there was an episode that went into Rockefeller and JP Morgan, and I actually researched this when I was finished watching that episode. And a really cool thing too, not winning in Canada, maybe not Canada, but I do have hope for the US because we're seeing behind this curtain. And that's why it's really scary, because we're noticing things that we've never noticed before. But what? McKinley, so that was in 1896. Rockefeller and JP Morgan, who were two of the biggest money guys, they actually bought William McKinley, and they bought him because the other people that were planning on running, put a big threat to their big business. So they got McKinley, they bought him, they got him into office, they manipulated the media. They even went so far as to, the more their masks slip, the more hopeful I become. Exactly. So they even went to the extent of like approving and rewriting some of his speeches when he became the president. So this is nothing new. But way back in the day, they got, what crawl space can I hide in? Way back in the day, they got away with it because we didn't have back then as many news sources as we have right now. Now we have different kinds of news sources. Now we have alternative news. Now we have the internet. We have social media. So we have all this ability to communicate with each other and get stories out there that we didn't have before. I was recently watching, I don't know if you guys are a fan of Michael Malice, but I was watching him right before I got on, and he was saying sort of the same thing. He's like, even, go back like 20 years ago, or maybe even further than that, there were really only three main news stations, and they were all sort of leaned the same way. So we have an opportunity now like never before to see behind that curtain. And yes, I do think it's slipping. And now we'll get into Biden's speech. So did you guys watch Biden's speech last night? Malice is really great, and it made me so happy to hear him say, and I took those words out of his mouth. It took me really happy to hear Malice say, no, I think we're winning. And he didn't give the McKinley example. I went a little bit further with that, but he said we're winning. Back in the day, there were very few media outlets, very few sources that you could get your news from. So it was way easier to, hey, he's good, watch him and Lex. Okay, thank you, Luke Fish. So it was way easier to manipulate public opinion, and you just can't do that the way you can even now. So some specific things that Biden said last night in his speech. So if you guys aren't up to date, which I know all of you are more so than I am, I think a lot of times, Biden gave the speech last night, and basically the big thing that he was announcing in this speech is that he was going to mandate that any business, even private business that has over 100 or more employees, has to mandate vaccines. And if they don't follow the vaccine mandate, then they have to give their employees weekly COVID tests. And a lot of people are pushing back on this already. Rockefeller created the Federal Reserve in 1913, and with that, income tax. Thank you for that. So that's basically what he was announcing. But was really alarming was some of the language that he used in his speech. So I wrote a little bit of it down, and these are some of the quotes from Biden's speech, and just pay attention to the language. So first he says, many of us are frustrated with the nearly 80 million Americans who are still unvaccinated. He then goes on to say the vast majority of Americans are doing the right thing. And he said, with those 80 million Americans that are unvaccinated, the 25% can cause a lot of damage, and they are. He then went on to say it says you should get the vaccine because it causes a strong protection from serious symptoms of COVID. He then says the vast majority of you that are vaccinated, I understand your frustration with the unvaccinated. So there's several things going on. Psaki slipped and smoothly called this the pandemic. Yeah, if you saw this, Jen Psaki, if you saw this clip, it went viral where she called it the pandemic. I am a sub but got no notification again. I'm so sorry. I know you're on Twitter too. I think I tried to announce it on Twitter, and I'm going to do a better job with announcing these lives because I do hear that people don't get the notifications. So I'll do better at that. So there are several things to break down in what he said. First, there's pitting Americans against other Americans, the vaccinated against the unvaccinated. And I'll say it before, I'll say it again. I got the vaccine. I got it pretty early on. but I don't care whether you have it or not. That's none of my business. So he's pitting the vaccinated against the unvaccinated, and then he directly contradicts himself and says, he says that the unvaccinated are directly harming the vaccinated, yet he then says that if you have the vaccine, that's a wonderful protection. So if you have the vaccine, you're protected. So really the unvaccinated would only be harming the other unvaccinated. So that made no sense whatsoever. And I'll tell you what I personally think is going on. I think a few things are going on. I think this is just him being a tyrant, and it's almost like you're mad that people aren't listening to you, so you're going to try to force what you want on them more than anything. But I also think that this is sort of a cop out, and this is a distraction, because look at the Biden administration on every single level, whether it's the border, whether it's Afghanistan, the economy. He even failed at handling this pandemic. So Biden basically failed on every level imaginable. So that's basically him taking the blame off of himself and pitting it on other Americans, because really the people that you should be mad at for being on lockdowns, for for our economy being messed up, is really the people that are implementing these policies, not your fellow Americans. So what he said was just completely un-American. And again, I think he's trying to take away from his failure and putting it on everyone else. I also think it's a distraction away from his failure, because now look at what we're talking about. We're not talking about Afghanistan, which there are still Americans stuck in Afghanistan. We're not talking about the southern border. And this is right on the cusp of the recall election in California. And you guys, this recall election, of course, I know it's a long shot. I know that California is a very blue state, and I know that there's still a lot of people in California. They might see the homelessness, they might see that their quality of life is going down the tubes, they might see the increase in crime, but they still will not connect it to the people in office that are implementing these policies. They will continue to vote blue. It blows my mind every time I see somebody say on the internet, vote no, vote no. Why vote no? Like, do you not have eyeballs? Do you not see what's happening around you? Why would you not want to at least give something else a change? But this election in California is the most important thing that's happening right now. And Biden knows that. And Biden is going to California to campaign next week with Gavin Newsom. So if he's going to put the pandemic on everyone's minds, if he's going to put the vaccinated against the unvaccinated, if that's on everyone's minds, you're probably more likely to forget about the failure that is the Biden administration. So I think it is. I think it's a big distraction. I think it's a cop out, and he does this every single time that he gets up and he says something. He blames it on everyone else. Joe is coming to Long Beach this week to rally for Newsom. Can't wait to hear the heckling he receives. Yeah, so after seeing what happened in New Jersey with Biden, he got heckled there, he got heckled in Louisiana, and all the chants that were going on all the college campuses that happened all weekend. There were 4 college campuses that were chanting F Joe Biden, and that's because of this massive failure, and he knows his poll numbers dropped dramatically this past week, dramatically. So again, this is Biden trying to take the blame off of him and put it on someone else, like he always does. It's also a massive distraction. But back to the recall in California, I've told you guys this several times before, but the reason this is so important is not just because of California. Newsom has big political dreams. He doesn't just want to be the governor of California. He plans to be in it for the long haul, and he's buddy with Pelosi, he's buddy with Kamala Harris. Those are all San Francisco people, but there is very likely going to be a Senate seat in California up for grabs very soon. That's Dianne Feinstein's seat. She's 88 years old, and people are thinking that her seat is going to be available very, very soon. So if her seat becomes available, the governor of California has sole authority to replace her Senate seat. And if it's a Republican, they're going to replace it with a Republican. And if that happens, the majority in the Senate is going to shift. So that is one more reason why that this a recall election in California is so important. And while we're talking about that too, Steven, thank you so much. I very much appreciate that. I like that emoji. Thank you very much. Very sweet. But speaking of the recall election in California, I'm going to take you on a little journey, because this is, you cannot make this stuff up. You just can't. So I talked about in a previous video, Larry Elder. So Larry Elder is obviously the front runner against Gavin Newsom in the election. The last day you can vote is September 14th. So the deadline is coming up. Democrats are freaking out. Anyway, Larry Elder was going out and walking through a homeless encampment in Venice Beach. While he was doing that, him and his team were attacked by a group of people. One of the people that threw eggs at Larry Elder, and she actually did physically attack a member of his security detail, was this, everyone was talking about it, was this white woman in a gorilla mask. She was throwing eggs at him, attacked him. But when Larry Elder was kind of shuffled away by his team, she hit one of his security guards, and then there was another man that hit one of his security guards, and there was another man who is yelling and cussing and just saying really awful things about Larry Elder. And my first reaction to this was, the egg thrower had a mask on. Yes, the egg thrower had a gorilla mask on. So search the clip. If I can find, hold on, actually, I think I have it right here. I'll just show you on my computer. Give me a second and I'll pull it up. But she had a gorilla mask on. Come on, computer. Here we go. So my first reaction was, okay, this is exactly why we need new leadership. This happened in Venice Beach. And yes, it was targeted towards Larry Elder, but this is exactly what I lived in Venice Beach at the beginning of the lockdown. I lived there for 3 months, so I experienced this myself. This is exactly what the residents of Venice Beach experience all the time. All the time. This behavior is not abnormal for Venice Beach. And in my opinion, him walking through that and that happening was even more reason why we need new leadership, because clearly this isn't working. Let me see if I can find that photo. Oh, you were being sarcastic. I see what you're saying. Well, if I have it, I'll show it to all of you. I don't think I can pull it up right now. Oh wait, here we go. Oh, you can't really see her. This is actually a screenshot. I feel bad showing you this, because this is from Dave Rubin's show earlier. That's a screenshot from Dave Rubin's show, but she's like, you can't even see her. See, she's back here. But she has this gorilla mask on with pink hair. And so one of the guys that was yelling was, later that night, more reason why Venice Beach is off its rocker and why we need more leadership. Howdy, Jonathan. So later on that night, one of the people that was heckling Larry Elder was outside of a restaurant screaming and threatening patrons at the restaurant, and then he punched a random man. So the guy got arrested, right? And now he's right back. LA Times manipulates the photo. Yeah, I'll talk about that in just a second. So not only did he attack someone else, which just furthered my point of, this is what residents deal with all the time in Venice Beach. He got arrested, and because of our light on crime, because of our DAs that don't prosecute, he's already back on the streets. So this guy accosted people all day, and he's already back on the streets. This happens all the time. I wanted to say something else. So someone just brought up the LA Times. So the LA Times, who called Larry Elder the black face of white supremacy, they had some photos during this entire thing, and they manipulated, first of all, they manipulated the story. So their first headline was, Larry Elder cuts short Venice homeless encampment tour after hostile reception, which doesn't really accurately portray what happened. You see how they play with the words there? And then they had another headline that said, LAPD is investigating altercation involving Larry Elder at Venice homeless encampment. So that was their headline, right? And it says altercation, so it doesn't say who started it. It doesn't say that he was accosted. They put a picture of him, And it was a manipulated picture that actually almost looks like he's slapping a woman, and he was actually going in to give her a hug. Hey, Chris, I need to make you a moderator. I'm going to do that next time. He was actually going in to give her a hug. Her name is Soledad. I follow her on Twitter, and she's an amazing, brilliant girl. She's the one that invited Larry Elder to walk through the homeless encampment with her. And she even came out to say, this photo is completely manipulated. So that was the headline. It says, LAPD is investigating altercation involving Larry Elder at Venice Beach homeless encampment. Here, I'll show you the photo. It's right here. Can you see it? Do you see how that looks like he's almost hitting her? That's not. It was taken at a weird angle to make it look like that. And that's the headline they put with it. I will say, hold on, sorry guys. And so she came out on Twitter and said, whoa, that's not what happened at all. We were hugging each other and I invited him out. I will say this, the LA Times, they got called out so bad online for this. They kept the headline, but they did switch the picture out to make it a more accurate representation of what actually happened. But this is how the media can so easily like manipulate their wording, manipulate a little picture here and there. So if you're just a regular person and you just glance at this story, what are you gonna think? So at least they changed the picture back to what it was supposed to be, but still, I mean, so if they expect people to believe Larry's behaving like Heath Ledger's Joker, yeah. But that's what they do. I will say that a lot of people, even a lot of regular people in California, no one really takes the LA Times that seriously. I'm sure some people do, but if you look at the LA Times, like their actual publication, it used to be this thick. It's now like this thick. It's the thinnest paper ever. They're not doing very well, and this is why. That's exactly why they're not doing very well. And even, actually, now that we're talking about Democratic politics, I don't know if you heard, but Kamala Harris, who's also going to California to help campaign for Newsom, over last summer when we were having a lot of our unrest and a lot of our rioting, she posted a bailout fund for rioters on her Twitter account. Well, one of those rioters that got bailed out on the fund that she promoted has just been charged with homicide. So, it's love from, oh, you're in Australia right now? How are you doing in Australia? I'm hearing all kinds of stuff about Australia. I may have to go to Joe Newsom's rally dressed as an ice cream cone. Halloween stores are open. Yeah. Actually, I'm jumping a lot, but this is something else that happened recently. And again, our media is not picking this up. So do you guys watch Dave Rubin? Dave Rubin has a daily live show where he interviews guests and talks about current events and politics and things that are going on. So Dave Rubin is also someone that lives in California. He's really good to watch. Oh, that awful laugh of hers. I know. So Dave Rubin also lives in California, and he's been out helping Larry Elder campaign a lot as well. And he recently had on, I heard of Dave Rubin. He has a great show if you want to watch. And he's a California guy too. He lives in California. I like his philosophy because a lot of his friends left California and he was like, I'm staying and fighting, even though I'm temporarily out of California. So recently he had on actress Rose McGowan. And Rose McGowan, she was on that show Charmed with Alyssa Milano. Rose McGowan was also one of the original ones that called out Harvey Weinstein and launched everything that happened with Harvey Weinstein. So she's on his show yesterday, and you can look this up, and this is all alleged. This is all just what she said. She says that she has receipts for this. I just haven't seen them yet, but she has said this publicly and does say that she has receipts, but I have to say it's alleged. So Rose McGowan was on Dave Rubin's show just the other day, and I will tell you what she said, and I'm also reading this. I'll show you just so you know I'm not making it up. This is from the Daily Wire as well. Yeah, she calls out a lot of people in Hollywood. They keep saying Newsom is ahead in the polls. They're going to keep saying Newsom is ahead in the polls. They also did that in 2016. And I do not buy that kind of polling. I don't like it when they say that too much because I feel like that discourages people to vote. So even if you're in California, don't get discouraged. Go out and vote. He could be ahead in the polls, but then maybe a lot could change. Look at 2016. I don't take polls ahead of an election too seriously. But this is what happened. So Rose McGowan is on Dave Rubin, I think not yesterday, but the day before, and says that, so like I said, she's the original one that came out first about Harvey Weinstein. And was Rose in Death Proof? I don't know, actually. She was in one of my favorite, I really like a good cult dark comedy movie, and she was in Jawbreaker. That was a great movie. So she came out and said that she got a phone call 3 months before she went public about Harvey Weinstein. Remember, she's one of the original ones with Harvey. So she got a phone call from a woman who, what's the woman's name? I don't have the exact name, but essentially, okay, so she got a phone call from a woman named Jennifer Siebel Newsom, who's the wife of Gavin Newsom, way back in the day. Got a phone call asking her to meet her for lunch in Brentwood. So Rose McGowan doesn't know who this Newsom lady is, but she drives to the meeting. She kind of doesn't really get out of her car. She feels uncomfortable, so she leaves. So later on, I'm not sure how much later on, whether it was the same day or a few days or a few weeks later, she gets a phone call from this woman basically saying, what can we do to make you happy? So she was speaking on behalf of Harry Weinstein's lawyer because they knew that in a few months this story was going to come out and break. So I'll read you exactly what she said. So she says, Newsom called me and she set up a meeting with me to meet her somewhere in Brentwood, California, said McGowan. She recalled that when she arrived, she became very creeped out and left. Newsom then called her again on behalf of David Boyce, I think that's how you say his name, one-time attorney for Bill and Hillary Clinton who represented Weinstein in his criminal trial. So this woman, I don't know, some blonde lady with the last name Newsom, cold calls me and says, David Boyce wants to know what it would take to make you happy. McGowan said. When Rubin pressed McGowan on what she thought Newsom meant by that, McGowan speculated Newsom was referring to fiscal remuneration. That's a new word. Blonde moment. Thursday evening, McGowan posted a direct message to Newsom and his wife on Twitter. So Thursday evening, this is directly what Rose McGowan added to Newsom and his wife on Twitter. She says, Governor Newsom, you're facing a I love Rose McGowan. She's very brave. So she says, Governor Newsom, you're facing a recall because you're a fraud, just like your wife, Jennifer Siebel Newsom. I have the receipts. I wish I didn't. I wish you were all real. I wish you really did help, but you don't, and you're on the side of wrong. I hope this recall goes through because California does not need you. The nation does not need you. The world does not need you. We do not need you. So the interesting thing about this, so a lot of people were adding different publications and right? A lot of people were adding like different publications and Newsom on Twitter, but no one has heard back. But of course, no one's going to pick this story up. Again, I don't know if it's true. This is just according to Rose. She says she has receipts. I haven't seen any of them. I'm just telling you what she is saying. But you know, and the reason I bring this up, because if if this was on the other side, renumbering. Thank you. Renumbering. Thank you, Morris. Is that really what it was? Yeah. If this was the other side, whether they had the receipts or not, every single publication would be jumping over this story like crazy. That is all you would be seeing. And it's not happening. No one's going to touch this. No one's going to pick it up. Of course, besides The Blaze and of course besides Daily Wire and people like that. So I just thought that was really interesting. Okay, and so Rose McGowan too, she actually did a lot for Me Too, and she's been really critical. I guess I can go into the Time's Up thing. So Rose McGowan has also been really critical against Time's Up because she thinks that they are cheapening the Me Too movement. And that's what I also wanted to talk about. So Time's Up is basically filled with a lot of lawyers and Hollywood elite women. And the reason they made this organization is so that they could help women that aren't as powerful go after powerful men. That was the whole reason behind this organization. It was basically a legal fund to give less powerful women support. And it was a lot of Hollywood celebrities, a lot of like big deals. And they were basically saying, we're going to use our privilege to help you, someone that is less privileged, go after these powerful men. Because that's why a lot of women don't come out, because they are afraid of the power. Hello. That these men have. Remuneration is the pay of other financial compensation provided in exchange for a service. Thank you. Now I know. I learned something new every single time I do this. So 2022 Planet Terror. So Time's Up. They've had a lot of controversy because they seem to have a conflict of interest, because you have all of these elite women that are in this organization, yet rubbing elbows with some of the guys that are being accused. One of the things that happened was Tara Reade. So Tara Reade was Joe Biden's accuser and went to Time's Up to ask for help, and they said no. And they said their reasoning at the time was because he's running for federal office and they can't get involved in something like that, which again goes directly against their whole point for making this organization, was for less powerful women to go after powerful men and to have the support to do that. Not only did they decline to help Tara Reade, Joe Biden came out and basically denied the accusations, and Tina Chin, one of the people that resigned from Time's Up, one of the co-founders, one of the major people within Time's Up, she went on. So Joe Biden did this on MSNBC. She went on MSNBC that same day talking about how proud she was of Joe Biden for his transparency. After all of this, not only that same night she went to a virtual fundraiser for Joe Biden. So that's one example of the hypocrisy within Time's Up. Of course, the other one we've talked a lot about recently, and that was the Andrew Cuomo accusations. Yes, complete hypocrisy with Tara Reade. Absolutely, David. And then, of course, you have what happened with Andrew Cuomo. So two of the top people in Time's Up, one of them was legal counsel for Andrew Cuomo, and the original girl that came out, Lindsey Boylan, who accused Andrew Cuomo, come to find that two members in the Time's Up movement helped draft a letter to discredit her allegations. So again, going directly against everything they said. So recently you had a few resignations. I believe it was Tina Chin. Kaplan resigned. Kaplan was Cuomo's legal counsel who helped proofread this and approve this letter going out to discredit Lindsey. Well, since that happened, now, so some of the people that are involved in this, Shonda Rhimes, Eva Longoria, Reese Witherspoon. So since that, they are now calling for the entire board to resign. And there was a letter going out to some of those celebrities like Reese and Eva and others and Shonda Rhimes, encouraging them or saying that instead of having them resign, they're going to completely disband the entire board of Time's Up. And they said they were trying to save them some of the criticism from coming out and resigning publicly themselves. And I think that was a really good idea. And I will say that I'm sure not everyone within the Time's Up organization is aware of or had anything to do with some of this hypocrisy, but it just goes to show how this doesn't work. You can't be rubbing elbows with the same people that you're planning on going after. That causes a lot of conflict of interest. And to me, I think that they should completely disband that whole thing, take that money and maybe give it to a grassroots organization that actually is doing good work for women, because there's a lot of organizations that are, instead of doing this. It clearly doesn't work. And it's really bad. It's not a good look. They've all gone completely against everything that they said they were basically for. And Rose McGowan has been one of the main people calling them out. That's what reminded me of this story. And it cheapens the whole, because I do think there were good things that came out of the Me Too movement, whether it was Harvey Weinstein or a lot of other women that came up saying things that they previously didn't feel like they could. So I do think that it was a good movement. I think Time's Up was just performative. I don't know what it was, but you saw how they burned Kavanaugh at the stakes, and the evidence against him was not even as compelling as the evidence that Tara Reade had against Biden. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but that her evidence was way more compelling and it was corroborated. Biden droned the sparklets my light. Oh, I'm jumping. Here, let's look at Portland. This is you'll like this. Okay, so now we're going to Portland. more failed Democratic policies. But I saw this earlier today and I'm like, oh really? Really? I almost think I could have run Portland better. I don't have any, I could have run, because really all it would take is some common sense. Anyway, I'm reading this out of the Post-Millennial, and it says, Portland mayor says his hands-off police response to August riot was not the right strategy. Really? So I don't know if you remember, if you've been here for a while, we covered this all last summer. Portland, Oregon was basically the hot spot of all of these like antifa riots. Sarah for Portland. I honestly think I could have run it better than that mayor, which isn't saying a lot. Ted Wheeler's a child. Who saw that coming? Nobody. I didn't see that coming. Not at all. So basically, Portland had 120 nights of just straight rioting. Attacking the same things over and over and over again. Not only did they have this rioting every single night, they have this progressive DA, kind of like what we have in Los Angeles. His last name is Schmidt. I can't remember. I guess Sarah would be a cool boss. Thank you. But they have this progressive DA. So the police are going out and responding to these riots every single night. These people, they're attacking the police, they're attacking and accosting just innocent civilians and basically making the place a hellscape, for lack of better language. So the police, when they actually are watching from Canada, hi Canada, Ollie Schmidt. So the police, when they actually were arresting these rioters, the DA was letting them out almost the same exact night. So what really would have been so easy to control, I mean, come on you guys, it's Antifa. They're not, if police were allowed to actually do what they need to do to shut these things down, they could shut Antifa down so easily. But you have these progressive mayors, progressive city councils, and progressive DAs that don't allow them to do their jobs. And in Portland's case, you would have police that would arrest these rioters. Some of them were attacking federal buildings and officers and other people. So they would arrest them, they would go to jail, and then they would be out before the ink would even dry on their intake paperwork, basically. So you had the same people getting arrested and then coming back the next night. It's like a game of whack-a-mole, and it just never ends. The same people were out every single night rioting, and it ended up being 120 nights in a row of rioting in Portland, Oregon over the summer, and they're still doing it today. Well, what ended up happening is eventually the riot police were they were called the Rapid Response Team, and that was the group of officers. This was a completely voluntary team. Portland and Seattle terrified me last year. I am nowhere near there, but I watched the live streams from there like a cancer patient watching a tumor. It was scary. It was very scary. I'm not gonna lie, covering that stuff, I had a hard time. I got stuck in the middle of the riots in Los Angeles, and for me, it was like I was covering this stuff while it was happening, and my boyfriend picked me up and I was going to his house, and I remember, so this was on May 29th or May 30th was our major night of rioting in Los Angeles. And I remember I'm in my apartment. Sorry, I don't know if you guys want to hear this story, but I was in my apartment, and my boyfriend's on his way to pick me up, and I'm watching KTLA Live. And KTLA Live, that's a local news station in Los Angeles. So I'm watching KTLA Live, and I'm seeing like cop cars on fire, and this is happening in Los Angeles. I'm seeing cop cars on fire. I'm seeing just buildings burning and fires, and I'm like, what in the heck is going on? And I look closer, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like in my neighborhood. Like, imagine seeing that in your neighborhood on TV. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's where I go shopping. Like, that's in my neighborhood. But it ended up being, it was like less than a mile from my house, but it was in the opposite direction of where my boyfriend was coming. So I call him when he's on his way, and I'm like, hey, heads up, you shouldn't be hitting this, but just letting you know that's happening. So just heads up. And so he gets to my apartment, and normally he's like, hey, I'm here, take your time. Coming outside, I get there, or he gets there, and I get a text that says, come out now. And I'm like, oh, great. And in the meantime, between that first text that I sent him and him arriving at my apartment, I start hearing sirens, and it's not just like isolated sirens, it's nonstop sirens for like 15 minutes straight. So anyway, I go out, and we're driving. Again, we're a mile from where the cop cars are on fire. And we're driving down the street, and all of a sudden, we just see just chaos in the street. I don't know how to describe it, but it was just chaos. Just weird chaos, like people running in the middle of the street, people on bicycles just circling in the middle of traffic. It was just weird. And then we get down one road, and I'm looking, and all of a sudden every single window on every single building is busted up. Every single building is tagged with ACAB, all cops are bastards, cops are pigs, the anarchy sign, just everything. And keep in mind, there's still cop cars on fire a mile down the road. This is how widespread it was. So we're going like block after block after block, and I just start crying because I've never seen anything like this in my life. And I talked about this stuff on my YouTube channel, and then it's like all of a sudden I was right in the middle of it. And it's not like I went out seeking it and was in the middle of it. I was in my neighborhood where I thought I was safe and was right in the middle of it. And then our car we came to a stoplight, and all of a sudden we couldn't go anywhere. Over 100 people ended up surrounding our car. They stopped us right in the middle of traffic, and were like marching past us and surrounded our car. One guy, I remember like at the beginning of all this, he knocked on my boyfriend's car window, and he said it was some like 22-year-old kid or something. He looked about that age. And he said, hey, there's a lot of people behind me. You can make a U-turn and get out of here. Like, get the heck out of here now. And a part of me was like, thank you for being nice. And the other part of me was like, you just confirmed all my fears. But anyway, it ended up being fine. It was terrifying, but we were stuck there in the middle of the road. We couldn't make a U-turn. We were boxed in. We were stuck there for about 10 to 15 minutes with all of these people just passing through. And it was terrifying. Like, I could have rolled down my window and like touched everyone. They left us alone. They didn't touch our car. Everything was fine. But it was absolutely terrifying. And there were no cops in sight. I heard the sirens when I was in my apartment, but on that whole car ride, no cops in sight. We ended up seeing a line of police officers after the crowd had sort of passed us, and we started driving forward. They were just a few blocks up, but it was so widespread. It was so terrifying. But that's why, like, seeing everything that was happening in Portland all summer, and then seeing what happened in my own neighborhood and how fast it got out of control, it was almost traumatizing. And then to have the media on top of that sort of like kind of wash over how bad everything was, and excuse it, and to see politicians excusing it, it was scary. It was like, I don't know how to describe it. It was weird. It was bizarre, and it was kind of traumatizing. But to go back to Portland, their rapid response team, which was this voluntary group of officers that would go and respond to the riots, they eventually, a few months ago, just decided to completely disband. They were like, you know what? You're taking all of our power away. I think they took away their ability to use non-lethal force against crowds. So not only are they letting all these people out, not only are they rioting every night, now they're taking even more power away from these cops. So they took away some of their less lethal force. I want to say pepper spray. I'm not sure. Check me on that. Double check on that. They also charged an officer for something. And I think the charging of the officer, again, look up exactly what it was sort of the last thing. They were like, you know what? That's enough. You don't have our back. You're taking all of our power away. And these people are still going out and rioting every single night. And because they're doing that, we're not able to actually go respond to emergencies. So they disbanded. And there was actually one weekend just a few weeks ago I talked about on this channel where this is actually kind of funny. So the rapid response team disbanded. They're like, you want to go riot? Go riot. No one's going to show up. We're going to be responding to emergencies and other things before we respond to this, because so that's what they did. And Antifa went out and I believe they counter protested a group of right-wing protesters, and the Proud Boys were there. So the Proud Boys stood up to them and they all got into a scuffle, and the Proud Boys ran off Antifa in Portland. And of course, what happens? This happens every time. And you can look this story up online. It'll say it a lot better than I am. What happens every single time? Antifa's like, where are the police officers? Correct, no pepper spray. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's what it was. They took their ability to pepper spray away. And some of the reason they were doing that too is because the Antifa, they started going and rioting and disrupting residential areas. So they're spraying pepper spray in residential areas. I don't know if you remember some of these stories, but there were parents that were getting really angry because it was starting to come into houses. But Antifa is rioting in there. Instead of like clamping down on the people that are doing the harm, they took even more power away from officers. Proud Boys ran off Antifa, and then they're like, wait, where are the cops? Where are they? Like, they do that every single time. I thought they wanted to disband the police officers. But let me tell you what Ted Wheeler said. So Ted Wheeler, the mayor of Portland, the one who agreed in taking all of these powers away, this is what he said just now. Proud Boys, yeah. So he said, it is clear based on public outcry. Oh, hold on, let me correct myself. He said, it is clear based on the public outcry, on the media outcry, on the national front, that the strategy, that strategy was not the right strategy. I think we can all acknowledge that, said Wheeler. I take full responsibility. So he said, during the violent crash of protests on August 22nd in Portland, Oregon, city leaders instituted a hands-off approach towards policing the event, a move that Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler admitted was not the right strategy. The public doesn't want an overwhelming police presence, nor do they want the appearance that the police are not going to get engaged. Residents in the area said they felt terrorized and abandoned as fireworks exploded in busy streets and people in helmets and gas masks, armed with baseball bats, paintball guns, and chemical spray, were confronting each other. So they realized it was a mistake, all of it. And Wheeler backtracks constantly, just like his recent attempts to ban Texas trade. What a worm. Oh, I saw about that. No, he did that. And you know what? Something I've learned talking on this channel, it took public outcry for Wheeler to come to the realization that defunding the cops was a bad idea. Goon. No, but Ted Wheeler is one of those guys that panders, and he backtracks. He goes with whatever he thinks the public want instead of being a strong leader and making strong, divisive decisions. And you know why this never works? I've seen this with a few YouTubers, and I've learned this myself. It's better to just say what you think. Be strong on be open-minded always and willing to change, but say what you think and don't try to pander to people. Do what you feel in your heart of hearts is right, because no matter what you do, people are going to hate you. no matter how many people agree with you, there's always going to be a group that does not agree with you, that is going to criticize you, and that doesn't like anything you have to say. So instead of having to pander and go back and forth and put the safety and quality of life of your citizens just in the hands of Antifa, it's better to just be a strong leader. Because what did we learn from Ted Wheeler? This happened over the summer. Antifa still hates him. He totally pandered to Antifa. They still do not like him. They went and terrorized his apartment building. He had to move out of his condo for the safety of the other people in the condo, because they came to his home and were terrorizing him at home. He also went out to stand with them one night during a protest, and they terrorized him there and ran him out. So he should have just had a strong stance from the very beginning. You can't just pander to everyone. You have to be a strong leader and protect your citizens, because no matter what you do, there's going to be a group that can't stand you. There's going to be a group that's not happy with you, and that's a part of being a leader. Most Dems don't realize that they're a part of the system. Well, exactly. And Ted Wheeler learned that. And then we saw that even after Biden was elected. They had this, I don't remember where it was, if it was Portland, but there was that image of them walking down the street talking about how much they hated Joe Biden. And everyone, and this was the party that was basically trying to protect them. They don't like anyone. Their whole thing is, I want to burn down the system. But clearly, they don't want the whole system gone. They don't want to abolish police. Because what happened with the Proud Boys, the first thing they did was say, where are the police? Why aren't the police here? I think they're just people that are lost. They're people that are angry, and they've latched on to this idea, and now they have a reason to go out and spew their anger. And that's what organizations that do bad things, that's what they do. They go and find weak people. Hey, Sarah, you are so beautiful. Oh, thank you. You remind me of my beautiful mama in heaven. The only difference is her eyes were true blue. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that about your mom. That was really nice. Thank you. But that's what a lot of organizations like that do. They go and they recruit very weak people that don't have a lot going on in their lives. I mean, you saw that with what happened in Los Angeles with the Wii Spa situation. I mean, they were going out and attacking just middle-aged women that just didn't want to see, men's parts in their changing room. And they were going out and attacking them and calling them all sorts of names. So they're just, they don't know what they stand for, I don't think. They don't actually want. They would, okay, think about this. If the whole system was abolished, if police really were abolished, Antifa would be the least likely to be able, like the people in that group would be the least likely able to survive, in my opinion. I mean, just look at them. Like that is, they would not, if it's a survival of the fittest type.
I don't see an app for that. You'll need to download one.
It's my Siri. They would not survive that situation. They would be the least likely to survive. Yeah, it was Alexa. She came on. Mind your business. Okay? I'm live streaming. Whoops. Laura Logan is doing Tucker's show tonight. Check it out after Sarah. Ooh, I love Laura Logan. I am going to check that out. Okay, did you guys hear what he said? Laura Logan is on Tucker Carlson tonight. Always listening. It is, and that's why they pick, and look who they pick on. They always pick on weak people. Always. Whether it's the women that were out at least, they always pick on weaker people, and they always go after police officers that they know they can't do anything back to them. They're not actually afraid of the police officers. They yell and scream at them because they know the police aren't going to be able to actually do anything. And when someone does do something, when someone does stand up to them, there was this one video of, it was at one of the protests in Wee Spa, because Wee Spa, that's in Koreatown. It's owned and operated by Koreans. Well, there's this one Korean guy, and he actually has a shirt that says Rooftop Koreans. And he was going after them one day, and he goes, "Take off your mask! Take off your mask! Take it off!" I loved this guy, but they attacked him the week earlier. Oh, check out Amazon's terms of service, number 42. Someone says, "I love the Antifa mugshots." Yeah, they all look the same, all of them. Basically. Oh, I don't know if you saw this today. I'll probably get off here in just a minute, but here's one more thing. If you can find this clip, look it up online. But this was pretty interesting. So Peter Doocy, and during the press briefing with Jen Psaki, he goes, "So are you basically saying that," what he was talking about, Biden's federal mandate for vaccinations, and he was basically saying, "Okay, so are you saying that a business, a private business with 100 or more employees have to be vaccinated, yet any migrant coming over the border doesn't have to be?" And she goes, "Correct." I don't think she knew what else to say. But honestly, about this mandate, I don't know how they're going to enforce it. There's already a lot of pushback. There's already several governors that are saying they're going to be suing the Biden administration. That "I will circle back to you," LOL. Yeah, but she didn't say circle back. She just said, she should have said circle back. She needs to take advice from her previous self. Outer Banks, someone said they noticed my t-shirt. Outer Banks, I actually got this at a shirt that is not I got this at a store that is not even a Virginia store, but I saw Outer Banks and had to get it. So if you're not familiar with Virginia, Outer Banks, it's a beach area that a lot of people in Virginia go and vacation. But I don't think they're going to be able, there's already, like I said, several governors that are looking to sue the Biden administration. There's North Carolina, yes. There's, North Carolina, I'm sorry, not Virginia. But a lot of people from Virginia go down there. Okay, I know. Now I know. I've been in California for a very long time. I've been to the Outer Banks several times. I went to Kitty Hawk and another part that's like all the way at the bottom. I can't remember. But a lot of people from Virginia go and vacation there. You see the OBX bumper sticker everywhere and Outer Banks stuff. Wilmington, I like Wilmington a lot. Hold on, let me see where I visited. But I don't think they are going to be able to, I don't think they're going to get away with that. And I think they kind of know that they're not going to be able to get away with that. Hatteras. So I've stayed in Kitty Hawk and I've stayed in Hatteras. Hatteras is like all the way at the bottom. So if you guys don't know what the Outer Banks looks like, this is it. So this is North Carolina, you said? So the Outer Banks is just this whole area like right here. And I stayed all the way at the bottom. Nag's Head. I've never been to Nag's Head. Wait, yes, I've been through Nag's Head. Just kidding. I had lunch in Nag's Head. But I don't think they're going to be able to fully implement that. Several governors are looking to sue, and several businesses have already said that they're not going to. It's unforeseeable unless OSHA hires about 1 million inspectors and auditors. Beautiful lighthouse at Cape Hatteras. I have a picture of that lighthouse somewhere. I went to go see the lighthouse in Hatteras. I don't think they're going to be able to do it. You have a bunch of businesses that are already saying we're not going to comply. I know Ben Shapiro with the Daily Wire. Well, they're Ocracoke Island. That's a funny name. Let's take the, what is it? Oh, I don't know. Ocracoke. But Daily Wire said they're not going to be complying. Blaze said they're not going to be complying. A lot of people are saying they're not going to be complying, and they're already going to be, or they're already talking to, or they're hiring lawyers, and they're putting together legal teams to be able to fight if they have any issues with it. It's just it's so beautiful. Love the Carolinas. I do too. I wish I could bring up my my Instagram. It might not load because my Instagram is very slow on this computer, but I have pictures of the lighthouse. I had so much fun. But where I stayed at the bottom of that, the Outer Banks, is Hatteras. There's nothing there. Almost nothing there. It's this really cute little town. It's not developed. There's not any hotels or anything like that. You basically just like stay at a house. It's so quiet. It's so away from everything. I just love it. Thank you. I know it's a bioweapon. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that aren't going to be complying. I mean, it's in my opinion, it's unconstitutional. And something I learned about, Mama took me there 3 summers in a row. Oh, that's so cool, Rebecca. I'm trying, if I can pull this up, I'll show you guys my pictures. It might not come up. But I just don't see that happening. And something I learned early on too. So remember when Biden first took office, he signed a bunch of executive orders. What about the Americans working overseas? That's a good question. I actually don't know. So when you sign an executive order, and this is what the Constitution protects. So the Constitution protects private citizens, and a private citizen is basically anyone that doesn't work for the government. And executive orders, for instance, when Biden first took office and he signed all of those executive orders, a lot of people were saying, so one of the executive orders that he signed was he signed in a mask mandate for all federal employees. And a lot of people were saying, well, why did he only do federal employees? That's because an executive order, you can't order private citizens. I live 20 minutes from a military base, lots of helicopters. 20 minutes from a military base, and lots of helicopters have been going on the past few days, going around. I lived in California near the Hollywood Hills, and we had helicopters all day, every day. It was nonstop helicopters. It was like living in Grand Theft Auto. But executive orders, you can only control, or not, I hate using the word control, but you can only, they only go towards government agencies or government employees. You can't do anything like that to a private citizen, and that's what the Constitution protects, basically. More low-flying aircraft than usual here. Oh, really? See, I don't live near one at all. I'm trying to pull up these pictures. I don't think they're going to come up. What about federal contractors stranded in Afghanistan? They don't matter. I think it was Ben Shapiro. He cracks me up sometimes, Ben Shapiro. He's such a smart aleck. But he said, back to fixing surfboards. Thank for live stream, Sarah. Bless. Okay, bye, surfing and the dead. But he said, is he going to mandate vaccines on the Taliban? Always something. All right, I don't know if I can pull these up. Oh, this is interesting. Since we're talking about the vaccine mandate, so I didn't know this. So United Airlines, they have a vaccine mandate. My mom's name is Carol Ann Grace. So United Airlines has a mask mandate within their company, but it excuses people. So if you have a religious reason for not, oh no, they have a vaccine mandate. I'm sorry. I wasn't reading that correct. I'm doing 2 things at once. So United Airlines has a vaccine mandate within their business, but they are excusing people if you have a religious reason for not taking the vaccine. And if you're excused for a religious reason, they will put you, Ann means grace. It does. That's my middle name. My middle name is Ann. Sarah Ann Sansoni. My first name means princess, so my name is Princess Grace. Barbara, mine is too. I think a lot of people, I don't know how old you are, but if you're around my age, a lot of people have the middle name Ann. That was one of the basic middle names. My dad's middle name is Lee, and they actually wanted that to be my middle name, to be named after him, but then I would be Sarah Lee, and my mom's like, you're not a pastry. We don't want you to be made fun of for having the same name as a company that makes delicious pastries, so we won't do that. I can't. Hold on. I'm really trying to find these. Oh, okay. So if you work for United Airlines and if you have a religious reason for not taking the vaccine, they'll put you on paid leave. So I'm just like, I would say that I have a religious reason for not taking that if I'm going on paid leave. Just saying. Not saying I actually would, but I'm saying I would think about it. Why not? How long is the paid leave? When does that end? Hold on, I have the story up right here. Like, I'm also trying to find my Jesus told me not to take it. You can identify as someone in a different religion. Exactly, David. United Airlines is giving 5 more. Oh, okay. What? Was Lee. So my dad, since we're talking about parents, my dad was a race car driver. He's passed away, but when I was growing up, he was a race car driver. And his legal name wasn't Richard. His legal name was Ricky. So his name was Ricky Lee Sansoni. And he reminds me of Ricky Bobby, but that was his legal name. It wasn't Richard, it was Ricky. And he was a race car driver. I'll show you a picture of him in a second. It's pretty funny. Actually, I'll show you right now. I'll show you my dad in his racing uniform, if I can find it. Okay, I'll show you my. Okay, so this is Ricky Lee Sansoni. Now it's not coming up. Hold on. That's my dad. He had a pretty sweet mustache. I don't know if you saw that. Oh, this is a good one. Hold on. That's Ricky Lee Shake and Bake, guys. If that's not Shake and Bake, I don't know what is. Not only that, but he used to take me to Barbara, nice one. He used to take me to Applebee's. I'm not even joking. He used to take me to Applebee's and Hooters and hit on the waitresses. My parents were divorced, so don't worry. He wasn't trying to cheat on my mom. But he would. When I was little, we would go to Applebee's and all the time. And Hooters. Probably not appropriate. What a handsome man. Thank you. What kind of cars? So my dad he started out racing go-karts and he graduated to stock cars, but he was he's bringing the pastry bake. Yeah, he is. So he started out racing go-karts and raced that when I was really young, and then he graduated to stock cars, but he raced on a very indie level. And what we would do is we would go to the junkyard and he would get old Camaros and then basically just pull the shell off of the Camaro and he would keep the shell and then he would build his cars from scratch. Hooters, really? I want to hang out with your dad. I don't know where Kelly is. Maybe she's out socializing tonight or something. I don't know. It's Friday. Yeah, okay, so he built his cars. Hello from Indiana. Hi, Jennifer from Indiana. So he would build his cars from scratch, and I used to sit there in the garage with him for with him for a really long time and watch him build his cars. But yeah, he was an engineer and a builder, and he did everything from scratch. So what would happen is he would spend forever building a car, and then he would take it out once and he would crash it. And then he would have to start all over again. In some cases, if he totaled it, he would have to start all over again. That's me when I was a baby. That's his go-karts. So he started with that. And then he graduated to stock cars. I was trying to find the Outer Banks for you all. It's so far down. Because I have pictures of that lighthouse. Somewhere. I can't find it. I'll have to show you next time, I think. Shake and bake. I think, let me see if I have, I had one photo of my dad. Yeah, that's going to take forever. I had one photo of my dad. He would drive my sister around. I was too young, but he would drive her around in the neighborhood in his car without the shell on it, which was pretty funny. But I think that's all of it. All right, you guys, did he rate Penn National? No, race. Oh, cool. I think I thought I had another one of him. No, I think that's all. And cool story about him, actually. Hey, Sarah, love your channel. Thumbs up for me. Thank you, Kenny.
You're welcome.
Kenny, was that you? I like to imagine Jesus in a tuxedo shirt. By the way, isn't that, if you guys need a laugh, watch Talladega Nights. It is so funny, and it's so true. Like, I know this because I grew up, my dad was a race car driver, and let me tell you, they get that genre, or they get the essence of that just so right. I mean, I told, my dad used to take me to Applebee's. He chewed Big Red gum. He drank Gatorade. Okay, I have more pictures of him. So that's him in his race car. And then, I don't know why. Okay, I have pictures, and you can kind of tell it's a Camaro. So that's what his car looked like. I don't know why it says Doctor on Call, but you can kind of tell it's a Camaro. And then that's his garage back there. They killed Kenny's voice. They did. A mountain lion named Karen almost killed me. Who is his sponsor? He had a bunch of stickers. I don't really know. I actually still have some of his decals that went NASCAR, right? No, not NASCAR. We've Sarah's autobiography. My dad was a race car driver. I felt like I always won in middle school when you're like, my dad's cooler than yours. I'm like, my dad races. And I just felt like I would always win. I don't know. He had a lot of stickers. He had like a lot of decals. I don't know if those were his direct sponsors, but I don't know where they are right now. But some said like Valvoline was one. And I don't know, just a lot of like local businesses that I think would throw him a little bit of stuff and let him put their decals on his car. The reason this doesn't have any on it is because this was freshly painted. So he would take like that part off and then do all the stuff on the inside. And then he would put the shell back on. He would paint it and then take it out. I had one picture of his garage, but I don't know if I have it I don't know where it is. It's old. I used to sit and I still don't know anything about cars, but I used to sit with him and watch him for a really long time. Oh, dirt track racing. Okay, that's me and him. I used to, that's like my whole Instagram, sorry. That's him and me in his garage. That's before he started racing cars. But I used to just sit with him a lot when I was little and watch him work on his cars. Didn't learn anything, but that's what I did. All right, you all, I think I'll go ahead and head off. Thank you so much for joining. I really enjoyed that. That was fun. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that as well. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Steven, and thank you everyone that comments. That's really nice to have those memories. It really is. Thanks for the live stream, Sarah. It's great to see you again. Sorry I haven't been able to catch you. No, thank you for coming. Okay. Thank you guys so much. That was lots of fun. I appreciate it. And hopefully I'll see you guys soon. These will be regular, a lot more regular from now on. And I want to get better and hopefully give you guys a good show. Okay. Thank you, Andy. All right. Thank you all. Have a really good night. Happy Friday. And I'll see you later. Bye, Majestic. Bye, Keith. Special K, see ya. Bye.